Yeah. So if we kind of bucket the demand side ecosystem into DSPs, who actually look at performance advertising as their core business, that's one set of DSPs. Then you can look at the other side of DSPs who also, apart from performance advertising, do a bunch of brand specific advertising use cases. So at InMobi, we classify DSPs into performance specific and brand specific. I'll start by talking about how this change is going to impact the performance DSPs. And when I say performance DSPs, more specifically around DSPs who run app install advertising, be it user acquisition, app install advertising, or app install retargeting. These are all performance DSPs. Now, IDFA becomes really, really important to these DSPs because that's pretty much the only way in which they run their ad campaigns. Starting from the most basic advertising use cases, which is going to be frequency capping, which means how many ads should I show to a user, all the way to bidding algorithms, it uses IDFA. Some of the basic use cases include frequency capping, fraud checks that needs to be done. Then advanced use cases includes targeting. How do I price that particular user? What's the value of that user? These are all some of the use cases on the performance DSP side. And the biggest use case for the performance DSP is attribution. Without IDFAs, it is impossible, or it is not accurately possible to attribute an install to a source that actually drove that particular install. Now, without attribution, it also becomes really hard for any DSP who's looking at performance campaigns to optimize the campaign as well. Uh, Installs become one of the most important signal for any performance DSP to attribute and optimize campaigns on their particular supply source. So that is like the most important feature that's going to be missing from a performance DSP. Now, with the iOS 14 release, Apple does solve for attribution in a way. It's called the SK ad network. However, it's not completely clear as to how this is going to pan out in the weeks and months to come. So, looking at all of these changes, our strategy or our advice to performance DSPs is multifold. So I'll just talk about a few things that we are working with our performance DSPs. Number one, to solve for your basic advertising use cases, we are going to be working on sending another Apple identifier. It's called the Identifier for Vendors, also known as IDV. This is something that is unique within an app, but it changes between apps. So it's not the same as IDFA, but within an app, it can identify users. So if you are running advertisements within a publisher environment, you can still use that ID for fraud checks and frequency capping. However, you won't be able to do it across apps, which is still fine, but you'll at least able to run basic advertising within an app and not spend all of your dollars. So that's number one. We are also going to be working on sending a publisher-specific ID, which is InMobi specific ID for the publisher, which can be used by performance DSPs as well. So, we also will be working on sending IPv6 as one of the new IP address, which can be used along with the couple of things that I mentioned for performance DSPs. That's like one class of basic advertising that we'll solve for. Now, coming to the biggest problem that the performance DSPs face, which is attribution. We will be, following the spec that is being listed out by Apple, which is SK Ad Network spec, and mobile SSPs with SDKs like that of InMobi Exchange or InMobi SSP has a role to play in this entire funnel of how Apple is going to attribute installs. We've gone ahead and we've started work on supporting the SK Ad Network APIs, which involves us working directly with the DSPs. So we will be working with all the performance DSPs to get their ad network IDs that they register with Apple, and then help them get that attribution directly from Apple to them. which will solve for their closed loop optimization use cases. So we have been speaking with a bunch of performance DSPs, and we've been working with the IAB on coming up with ways in which we work with DSPs to sign that particular ad and use the ad network APIs to enable attribution. So we will be going ahead and enabling SK ad network attribution use case for performance DSPs. So that's kind of the near-term plan for unblocking some of the really hard problems that performance DSPs are going to face as soon as iOS 14 is going to get launched, and you will start a steep dip in the IDFAs that we're seeing.